Let me tell y'all something. Oh my God, that's what I wanted to tell y'all. Baby, let me tell you something. Y'all need to give it up to Nene, okay? Like, for real. Like, when I think about how many times this woman did Watch What Happens Live on her own, first of all, I didn't know that I was going to be on Watch What Happens Live by myself. You know, we used to having guests. That's like normal. So it was literally the day of, I looked on the card when when Watch What Happens Live posted it, and I just saw my picture, and I texted my manager. I said, bitch, you didn't tell me I was on Watch What Happens Live by myself. Baby, I immediately went into I could not eat. I was supposed to...
Y'all, brace yourselves, because this is not just another celebrity rumor. This is the kind of story that shatters images, destroys illusions, and leaves fans in absolute disbelief. For years, the world watched Porsha Williams smiling on camera, living what looked like a flawless reality TV fairy tale. The glam, the confidence, the picture-perfect life. But allegedly, behind that carefully curated image, something much darker was unfolding, and now, Kordell Stewart has finally decided to break his silence. According to Kordell, what the public saw was only half the story. While cameras were rolling and fans were cheering, a hidden reality was quietly spiraling out of control. Secret relationships, late-night meetings, conversations that were never meant to see the light of day. Kordell claims this wasn't a single mistake, it was a pattern, a double life that had been building for years. And here's where it gets disturbing. Kordell allegedly reveals that these weren't just emotional connections. He suggests power, manipulation, and control played a major role, turning private relationships into silent battlegrounds. While the world believed in a love story, someone behind the scenes was slowly breaking apart. Kordell describes feeling trapped inside a narrative that wasn't real, watching smiles meant for the public while dealing with silence, distance, and unanswered questions in private. According to him, the truth was buried under perfection, protected by fame, and hidden behind filters and flashing lights. Now, the internet is exploding. Old clips are being replayed. Fans are questioning every smile, every interview, every moment they once believed in. Some are defending Porsha. Others are stunned, asking how something this dark stayed hidden for so long. And the most chilling part, Kordell claims this story isn't finished yet. More secrets, more names, more revelations that could completely change how this story ends. If even part of these allegations are true, nothing will ever look the same again.
God has placed me in this position to use my voice and to use my testimony. And he did it within my realm of being on Housewives, and now I did Watch What Happens, and that was great.
Buckle up, because what you're about to hear isn't polished reality TV, it isn't a curated Instagram caption, and it definitely isn't the version fans were ever meant to see. This is the kind of story that creeps out slowly, then hits hard, leaving silence in its wake. And tonight, that silence has been broken. For a long time, Kordell Stewart stayed quiet. No interviews, no public outbursts, no messy back and forth online, just distance. But according to sources close to the situation, that silence wasn't peace, it was pressure. And now, allegedly, the weight of that pressure has finally cracked. On the surface, everything looked perfect. Cameras caught laughter. Interviews showed confidence. The public saw stability, growth, and a woman who seemed in control of her narrative. But according to Kordell, what played out on screen was only a fraction of the truth. He claims the real story lived off camera in unanswered calls, sudden disappearances, and explanations that never quite added up. Allegedly, this wasn't about one misunderstanding or one rough patch. Kordell suggests it was a slow unraveling, where questions were brushed aside and instincts were ignored. He describes moments where things felt wrong, but the image had to stay right. And in the world of fame, image can become a shield, not just from the public, but from accountability. According to Kordell's version of events, there were signs early on. Patterns that didn't make sense. Time that couldn't be explained. Emotional distance disguised as independence. He claims there were connections that went deeper than friendship, relationships that existed quietly while the public narrative told a completely different story. And here's where the story turns heavy. Kordell allegedly says these weren't just secret emotional bonds. He suggests there was control involved, emotional leverage, selective truth, and a power imbalance that left him questioning his own reality. When concerns were raised, he claims they were dismissed. When answers were requested, silence followed. And silence, over time, can be louder than any confession. Behind closed doors, Kordell says the relationship began to feel like a performance he never auditioned for. Public smiles contrasted sharply with private tension. Moments that should have brought clarity only created more confusion. And according to him, the truth always seemed just out of reach, close enough to sense, but never close enough to confront. Sources say Kordell struggled with the idea of speaking out. Not because he lacked a story, but because he understood the consequences. Fame protects. Fans defend. Narratives solidify. And once a version of reality is accepted, challenging it can feel impossible. Especially when the person at the center of it is beloved, influential, and constantly in the spotlight. Allegedly, there were attempts to hold things together. Conversations meant to reset boundaries. Efforts to rebuild trust. But Kordell claims the same cycle kept repeating: reassurance followed by doubt, promises followed by distance. Over time, the emotional toll grew heavier, and the gap between public perception and private experience became impossible to ignore. This wasn't just about heartbreak. It was about erosion. About slowly losing confidence in your own instincts. About wondering whether the truth mattered, or whether protecting an image mattered more. Kordell allegedly says that's when he realized the situation wasn't simply complicated, it was damaging. And while all this was unfolding quietly, the public saw none of it. Fans celebrated. Headlines praised. Appearances reinforced the idea that everything was fine. But according to Kordell, fine was just a word used to end conversations. The reality, he claims, was far messier, far darker, and far more painful than anyone could imagine. Now that the silence has broken, reactions are split. Some are questioning everything they thought they knew. Others are calling it exaggerated, one-sided, or conveniently timed. But what's undeniable is this: once allegations like these surface, they change the way every past moment is viewed. Old interviews feel different now. Old smiles look rehearsed. Old declarations of happiness feel uncertain. And that's the power of a story like this. It doesn't just introduce new information, it recontextualizes the past. Kordell allegedly isn't presenting himself as perfect. He's not claiming innocence in every argument or clarity in every moment. What he is claiming is confusion, pain, and a prolonged emotional struggle that he kept hidden while the world watched a polished version of events. And perhaps the most unsettling part of all is this: according to Kordell, this wasn't a single betrayal. It was a pattern. A sequence of choices that prioritized secrecy over honesty and control over transparency. If true, that reframes the entire relationship, not as a tragic misunderstanding, but as a slow-burning collapse hidden behind fame. As word spreads, online conversations are intensifying. Clips are being reanalyzed. Timelines are being questioned. Fans are divided between loyalty and doubt. And every hour that passes seems to add fuel to a fire that shows no sign of burning out. This story doesn't offer closure. Not yet. It offers tension. It offers unanswered questions. And it offers a warning about how easily perception can overpower reality when the cameras are rolling. According to Kordell, speaking up wasn't about revenge. It was about release. About finally putting words to a truth that had been carried quietly for too long. Whether those words lead to accountability, backlash, or deeper controversy remains to be seen. What's clear is this: the version of events the public believed is no longer the only version on the table. And once doubt enters the room, it doesn't leave quietly. This is only the beginning. For a long time, the silence around this story felt louder than any headline. It wasn't the kind of silence that meant peace. It was the kind that comes from pressure, from knowing that speaking up could rewrite everything people thought they knew. And according to what is now being alleged, that silence carried years of emotional weight, confusion, and carefully hidden damage. From the outside, the story looked simple. A public figure thriving, confident, smiling through interviews, appearing unbothered by chaos. Fans believed they were watching growth, strength, and control. But according to Kordell Stewart, what the cameras captured was never the full picture. He claims the real story existed in the gaps, in moments the audience never saw and questions that were never answered. Allegedly, the cracks didn't appear all at once. They formed slowly. Small inconsistencies. Sudden changes in behavior. Emotional distance explained away as independence or ambition. Kordell suggests there were times when things felt off, but those feelings were pushed aside in favor of keeping the image intact. In a world built on perception, doubt often gets buried under appearances. Kordell is said to describe a relationship that began to feel divided into two separate realities. One reality belonged to the public, polished, confident, and untouchable. The other existed privately, filled with tension, uncertainty, and conversations that never reached resolution. According to him, that split became impossible to ignore over time. What makes these allegations heavier is the suggestion that secrecy wasn't accidental. Kordell allegedly claims there were deliberate efforts to control information, to manage narratives, and to decide which truths were allowed to exist. He suggests emotional manipulation played a role, leaving him questioning his instincts and doubting his own reactions. When trust erodes quietly, it doesn't collapse, it dissolves. Sources close to the situation claim Kordell struggled internally long before anything became public. Speaking out wasn't easy. Silence felt safer. Silence avoided backlash. Silence protected reputations. But silence also meant carrying the burden alone. According to those same sources, the emotional toll of that choice became unbearable. Allegedly, there were moments when Kordell sought clarity, hoping honesty would reset the relationship. Instead, he claims he was met with avoidance and deflection. Promises were made. Reassurance was offered. Yet the same cycle returned, leaving him stuck between hope and doubt. Over time, that cycle reportedly became exhausting. This is where the story turns darker. Kordell allegedly suggests that certain relationships existed beyond what the public was led to believe. He doesn't frame them as harmless friendships. He claims they crossed boundaries, operated in secrecy, and carried emotional consequences. According to his account, these connections weren't isolated incidents, but part of a broader pattern that continued despite concerns being raised. The emotional impact, Kordell claims, was devastating. He describes feeling sidelined in his own relationship, reduced to a background figure while the public narrative painted a completely different picture. According to him, the hardest part wasn't betrayal alone, it was being made to feel invisible, while millions watched a version of happiness that didn't exist behind closed doors. While fans celebrated milestones and applauded appearances, Kordell allegedly says he was grappling with confusion and emotional fatigue. The contrast between public praise and private pain became overwhelming. He suggests there were nights filled with unanswered messages and days spent pretending everything was fine. As these allegations surfaced, reactions online shifted quickly. Some people expressed shock, saying the story didn't align with the image they had believed for years. Others questioned Kordell's timing, his motives, and his credibility. But regardless of opinion, the allegations forced a reevaluation of moments once seen as harmless. Old interviews now feel different. Statements once interpreted as confidence are being re-examined for subtext. Smiles once taken at face value are being questioned. This is the ripple effect of allegations like these. They don't just introduce new claims, they change how the past is understood. Kordell allegedly insists this was never about humiliation or revenge. According to him, it was about survival. About reclaiming a voice that had been quiet for too long. He claims that staying silent felt like participating in a lie that slowly eroded his sense of self. What adds to the tragedy is the suggestion that this situation affected more than just two people. Kordell claims multiple relationships were strained, trust was fractured, and emotional fallout spread beyond the immediate circle. According to his account, the consequences were far-reaching and deeply personal. Critics argue that allegations are not proof. Supporters respond that silence does not equal innocence. And in the middle of that debate lies a story still unfolding, layered with emotion, contradiction, and unresolved tension. No court has ruled. No final truth has been established. What exists right now are claims that refuse to be ignored. Kordell allegedly acknowledges his own flaws and missteps. He doesn't portray himself as blameless. What he emphasizes, according to sources, is imbalance, a dynamic where power, image, and control outweighed transparency and respect. If true, that imbalance reshapes the entire narrative. As conversations intensify online, the divide grows sharper. Some defend fiercely. Others demand accountability. Many remain conflicted, unsure what to believe. And that uncertainty fuels attention, speculation, and relentless scrutiny. What makes this story especially unsettling is how familiar it feels. A polished image masking unresolved chaos. Fame acting as insulation. Silence being mistaken for stability. Kordell's allegations tap into a broader conversation about how easily reality can be rewritten when perception becomes currency. For now, there are more questions than answers. More fragments than conclusions. Kordell's voice has entered the conversation, but it hasn't ended it. According to those close to the situation, there are details still unspoken and truths still forming. This is not closure. This is escalation. And as the public continues to react, one thing is clear: once a story like this breaks through silence, it doesn't fade quietly. It lingers, reshapes narratives, and forces everyone watching to confront the possibility that what they believed was only ever part of the truth. This is only the first chapter. Hold on to your seats, because what comes next is the kind of revelation that makes you question everything you thought you knew. Kordell Stewart's silence has broken, and the details he is allegedly sharing are beyond what anyone could have imagined. According to his account, what looked like simple relationships from the outside were actually tangled webs of secrecy, manipulation, and hidden agendas that spanned years. Every carefully curated public moment, every smile caught on camera, was only part of a story. The other half, according to Kordell, was filled with emotional devastation, betrayal, and moments that no fan could ever have predicted. Kordell allegedly describes nights where decisions were made in shadows, away from prying eyes, where whispered conversations and secret meetings dictated outcomes that would affect lives profoundly. He claims these weren't isolated incidents, but repeated patterns, behaviors that escalated over time, leaving chaos in their wake. Friends who thought they were close reportedly saw only fragments of the truth, while the deeper reality played out in a private arena of tension and heartbreak. According to Kordell, it became impossible to separate truth from illusion, and the emotional toll of living inside that double world weighed heavily on him. Every allegation Kordell shares paints a picture of extreme complexity. The relationships he claims existed were not just emotional. They carried consequences, manipulations, and power dynamics that twisted every interaction. He reportedly witnessed emotional withdrawal, moments of intense confrontation, and a level of secrecy that created an environment where honesty was almost impossible to find. Allegedly, attempts to confront or clarify these issues were met with deflection, secrecy, and a facade maintained at all costs. Kordell's account, if true, suggests that trust was consistently undermined. He describes feelings of isolation, emotional exhaustion, and a repeated sense of being deceived despite his best efforts to maintain normalcy. Public appearances masked the reality. Celebrations and smiles hid tension and hidden motives. According to Kordell, those around him often sensed something was wrong, but never fully understood the depth of the situation. The contradiction between public perception and private experience, he alleges, created confusion that was both disorienting and emotionally crushing. The emotional devastation Kordell claims to have endured is staggering. He alleges that attempts to understand the truth were met with obfuscation and silence, forcing him to question his own judgment and feelings. Moments that should have been simple expressions of love or honesty were instead layered with hidden agendas and complex dynamics. According to his account, this isn't just about betrayal. It's about living in a world where the rules of trust and honesty were consistently broken, leaving long-lasting scars. Kordell allegedly exposes the involvement of multiple undisclosed relationships, suggesting that the hidden connections extended beyond what anyone imagined. He claims that these weren't fleeting interactions, but deeply intertwined emotional entanglements that shaped decisions, influenced actions, and affected multiple people in profound ways. The implications of these alleged relationships ripple far beyond the private sphere, touching family, friends, and social circles, creating emotional chaos that continues to reverberate. Social media erupted as Kordell's statements circulated. Fans dissected old interviews, revisited public appearances, and combed through every past interaction for signs that might validate or refute his claims. Opinions polarized almost instantly. Some defended fiercely, claiming Kordell had motives rooted in grievance. Others were left speechless, grappling with the idea that someone they admired publicly might have been living a life filled with hidden turmoil. The intensity of the public reaction, according to observers, only underscores the shock and gravity of the allegations. Allegedly, Kordell emphasizes that the damage wasn't just emotional, but systemic. The pattern he claims to have witnessed reflects repeated manipulation, deliberate secrecy, and calculated management of perception. Each alleged act, each hidden moment, added layers of complexity to a situation that became increasingly difficult to navigate. According to his account, those layers created a world where control, appearances, and power overshadowed genuine connection, leaving anyone involved feeling powerless. The tragedy, Kordell claims, is that many people were unknowingly caught in this web. Emotions were exploited, trust repeatedly tested, and the reality of interactions constantly distorted. The alleged secrecy, combined with carefully maintained public appearances, meant that those outside the immediate circle only saw a partial truth. Kordell's narrative suggests that living inside this dual reality was destabilizing and emotionally draining, creating long-term effects that are difficult to quantify. Allegedly, Kordell also sheds light on the strategic ways in which public perception was managed. While appearances remained flawless, behind closed doors, the dynamics were starkly different. The contrast between the image projected to the world and the reality experienced privately, he claims, created an unsustainable tension that ultimately led to this public exposure. It's a story of control, concealment, and the human cost of maintaining a narrative that doesn't align with lived reality. This isn't just an isolated story of betrayal or a private dispute. According to Kordell, it's a full-scale revelation of emotional complexity, repeated manipulation, and secretive behavior that challenges everything audiences assumed about relationships, trust, and celebrity life. The allegations are powerful, shocking, and emotionally charged, leaving those who hear them questioning the very foundation of what they thought they knew. Kordell allegedly stresses that coming forward was not easy. The weight of silence, years of doubt, and emotional strain made speaking out both necessary and terrifying. His account suggests that the truth, no matter how explosive, was needed to reconcile the damage of years spent in secrecy. According to Kordell, revealing this story isn't about revenge, it's about exposing patterns that have had deep emotional consequences for him and others affected by these alleged relationships. Public reaction continues to intensify. Clips, statements, and social media commentary keep resurfacing as audiences try to parse fact from speculation. Kordell's account, layered with emotion, tragedy, and controversy, has transformed a private struggle into a viral conversation. The magnitude of the alleged revelations challenges not only personal narratives, but also the broader understanding of trust, loyalty, and the facade of perfection often presented by public figures. According to Kordell, the fallout of these alleged events is ongoing. Emotional trauma, relational complexity, and the continued impact on those involved are far from resolved. Allegedly, the story is still unfolding, with more details and revelations yet to surface. Each claim adds weight, creating an atmosphere charged with anticipation, speculation, and intense emotional engagement. Kordell's narrative, if true, forces a reconsideration of past perceptions. It suggests that every carefully crafted public appearance may have hidden layers of emotional turmoil, secrecy, and manipulation. The implications extend beyond individual experiences, touching cultural perceptions of fame, trust, and the reality behind the images people consume. And while the full story may still be emerging, one fact remains undeniable. The allegations Kordell Stewart is sharing, whether fully confirmed or not, have already created a viral-level storm. Audiences are captivated, shocked, and emotionally engaged in a way that few stories achieve. The combination of secrecy, alleged betrayal, and emotional depth ensures that this saga will continue to dominate conversations, redefine perceptions, and leave a lasting imprint on those watching. This is more than gossip. This is an unfolding emotional and cultural earthquake, a viral drama that refuses to fade quietly, demanding attention, scrutiny, and reflection. Kordell's account, with all its alleged revelations, continues to escalate, promising further intensity, more shocks, and a level of emotional engagement that few stories reach. The storm has begun, and it shows no signs of letting up. Hold tight, because the story just plunges even deeper, spiraling into layers of secrets, heartbreak, and allegations so intense they could shatter anyone's perception of reality. Kordell Stewart's account allegedly exposes a world behind closed doors that nobody could have predicted, a reality where trust, loyalty, and love were constantly tested, manipulated, and ultimately broken. According to Kordell, the life that looked glamorous on social media and reality TV was nothing but a carefully constructed illusion. Every laugh, every public appearance, every seemingly innocent interaction was part of a performance, concealing a private life riddled with affairs, manipulation, and emotional turbulence. Kordell allegedly paints a picture where late-night encounters, secret phone calls, and undisclosed meetings weren't exceptions, they were the norm. The pattern of secrecy, he claims, extended over years, creating layers of deception so intricate that even those closest to the circle had no idea what was really happening. According to his account, emotional manipulation was constant, and moments that should have been intimate or honest were instead filled with calculated omissions, hidden agendas, and power plays. The people involved, he alleges, were caught in a web where love, betrayal, and control collided with devastating consequences. He reportedly describes how the emotional toll was unbearable. Kordell claims that repeatedly trying to navigate a world of lies and half-truths left him feeling isolated, exhausted, and heartbroken. Moments of confrontation, which might have resolved tensions, were deflected, ignored, or twisted, leaving him to grapple with confusion and despair. Allegedly, the impact extended far beyond his own heart. Friends, family, and even casual acquaintances were pulled into a shadowy narrative where reality and perception constantly clashed. Every interaction carried weight, every secret had consequences, and the cost of exposure was profound. According to Kordell, the alleged web of relationships was not only expansive but emotionally charged. Some connections were old, others recent, but all were reportedly intertwined with secrecy, manipulation, and hidden intentions. He claims that these weren't fleeting encounters, they were sustained patterns that shaped decisions, impacted lives, and caused emotional fallout far beyond the immediate circle. The consequences, he alleges, were both personal and systemic, affecting trust, family dynamics, and the emotional well-being of everyone involved. The drama doesn't stop there. Kordell allegedly asserts that the emotional volatility behind closed doors was extreme. Conflicts erupted with intensity, often triggered by small disagreements that would spiral into confrontations with lingering consequences. Allegedly, the combination of secrecy, emotional manipulation, and power dynamics created an environment where normal emotional responses were warped, leaving everyone involved drained and traumatized. According to Kordell, it wasn't just about being deceived, it was about living in a reality where nothing was what it seemed and every decision was shadowed by hidden truths. Social media exploded almost immediately after Kordell's statements surfaced. Fans dissected every past interview, Instagram post, and public appearance in search of clues. Allegedly, old smiles were reinterpreted as masks, friendly gestures recast as manipulative signals, and casual moments re-examined through the lens of Kordell's revelations. The public reaction, intense and polarized, highlighted just how deeply these claims struck a chord. Some defended fiercely, others were horrified, but almost everyone was left questioning the authenticity of the narrative they had long taken for granted. Kordell allegedly emphasizes that this was not a one-time lapse or a minor scandal. According to his account, the actions he describes represent a repeated pattern of behavior, a cycle of secrecy and manipulation maintained for years. The emotional fallout, he claims, was intentional or at least knowingly perpetuated, leaving him and others to deal with consequences they couldn't control. Allegedly, the facade of a perfect life was meticulously maintained, even as the private reality grew increasingly chaotic and destructive. The alleged revelations are not just personal, they are emotionally seismic. Kordell reportedly recounts feeling trapped, helpless, and forced to participate in a narrative that was not fully truthful. According to him, attempts to confront the truth were met with silence, evasions, or misdirection, amplifying emotional stress and leaving long-lasting scars. The repeated exposure to secrecy and manipulation, he claims, created an environment where clarity and honesty were impossible, leaving him and others in constant emotional turmoil. Kordell's account allegedly delves into the intersection of public image and private chaos. He claims that while appearances remained flawless, the hidden reality was filled with tension, heartbreak, and betrayal. Every public moment, every smile, every confident statement was allegedly a calculated attempt to obscure the truth. According to Kordell, the contrast between public persona and private reality reached such extremes that it became impossible to reconcile the two, intensifying emotional strain and leaving deep psychological impacts. The alleged network of hidden relationships, according to Kordell, not only disrupted personal connections, but also reshaped social dynamics. People were forced to navigate a world where every interaction carried hidden significance, every gesture potentially masking ulterior motives, and every connection layered with emotional complexity. Allegedly, the consequences of these interactions extended far beyond immediate relationships, creating ripple effects that touched multiple lives. Public scrutiny intensified as Kordell's account circulated. Social media platforms erupted with speculation, shock, and debate. Fans revisited past moments with new eyes, trying to piece together fragments of truth from a narrative that allegedly concealed so much. The sheer intensity of the alleged revelations, combined with the emotional depth Kordell describes, created a viral-level phenomenon that captivated audiences, driving conversations and reactions to unprecedented levels. According to Kordell, the exposure of these alleged secrets was unavoidable. The tension between public image and private reality, he claims, became unsustainable over time. Allegedly, the web of secrecy, manipulation, and hidden connections reached a tipping point, necessitating revelation. The emotional consequences of maintaining the facade, coupled with the repeated patterns of deception, created a situation where silence was no longer tenable and disclosure became inevitable. The tragedy, Kordell allegedly claims, is that countless lives were affected in the process. Emotional damage, broken trust, and fractured relationships are said to be the lasting legacy of this alleged double life. According to his account, the story is not simply about scandal, it is about the human cost of secrecy, manipulation, and repeated betrayal, a tale of heartbreak that extends far beyond the immediate players. Allegedly, Kordell stresses that the public deserves to understand the contrast between perception and reality. What appeared to be effortless charm, smiles, and charisma was, according to him, only the surface of a life fraught with complexity, secrecy, and emotional volatility. He claims that the careful curation of public image often obscured the truth, creating a narrative that was compelling on the outside, but devastating within. The alleged revelations continue to reverberate. Each detail Kordell shares adds weight to a story of secrecy, betrayal, and emotional manipulation that has long been hidden from view. According to his account, the fallout is ongoing, with consequences that extend to family, friends, and public perception alike. The emotional intensity of the narrative, combined with the viral-level intrigue it has generated, ensures that the story continues to dominate attention and conversation. If Kordell's allegations are even partially accurate, they reveal a world where personal connections, emotional honesty, and trust were systematically undermined. The combination of secrecy, hidden relationships, and repeated manipulation allegedly created a climate where emotional devastation was inevitable, leaving long-term impacts that cannot easily be erased. This saga, Kordell allegedly claims, is far from over. The layers of secrecy, hidden motives, and emotional complexity continue to unfold, promising further revelations and deepening the already intense public fascination. According to him, the story is not just about scandal, it is about exposing a pattern of behavior that has profound emotional consequences and reshapes the understanding of trust, relationships, and celebrity life. Every revelation, every alleged disclosure, and every shocking detail contributes to a narrative that is as emotionally gripping as it is scandalous. Kordell Stewart's account, with all its alleged intensity, heartbreak, and complexity, promises to keep audiences captivated, shocked, and emotionally invested. The story is ongoing, the consequences are far-reaching, and the drama is only intensifying. The storm of allegations, heartbreak, and emotional turbulence continues to surge, and the world is watching, captivated, shocked, and unable to look away. Allegedly, this is just the beginning, and the layers of drama, secrecy, and heartbreak are far from fully revealed. And now, the story reaches a point where the silence shatters, where secrets long buried claw their way into the light, and the fallout threatens to engulf everything in its path. Kordell Stewart's revelations allegedly expose a world of hidden desires, manipulations, and betrayals so intense, so emotionally charged, that the public can barely comprehend the magnitude of what's been concealed for years. Every whisper of affection, every private meeting, every concealed text now carries a weight previously unimaginable. Allegedly, the emotional devastation doesn't stop at broken hearts. It's a chain reaction, spreading through relationships, trust, and public perception like wildfire. The truth, as Kordell paints it, is relentless. It's a story of a life lived in duality, where smiles hid storm clouds and glamour disguised chaos. Allegedly, the double life wasn't occasional. It was a sustained, calculated performance, meticulously maintained while manipulating emotions, bending loyalties, and fracturing those caught in the orbit of secrecy. Every revelation adds layers of heartbreak, creating a tapestry of tragedy so intense that it reads like a real-life thriller, a courtroom of public opinion where no one is spared from judgment, and every assumption is questioned. Fans are divided, social media is ablaze, and speculation has reached a fever pitch. Allegedly, every public gesture, every carefully curated image, now feels like a mask hiding a life more turbulent than anyone could imagine. The implications are staggering, the emotional stakes colossal, and the narrative is far from over. Kordell's account, raw and unfiltered, demands attention, forcing audiences to confront a reality where betrayal, manipulation, and heartbreak intersect in shocking, unpredictable ways. The questions hang heavy. How deep does the deception run? How many lives have been irreparably affected? And when all is revealed, can the public reconcile the image with the truth? Watch closely, because the storm is just beginning, and every secret that emerges is another bombshell ready to detonate. The world is watching, and the truth is unstoppable.